order to make sure that your TV series is as accurate as possible, here's a short how-to on fingerprinting. There are a few different ways to dust Latin fingerprints, and deciding whether to fume or to dust is a hard decision for fingerprint analysis. You normally will fume something such as a wet beer bottle that you find outside, because using powders on the wet surface probably won't work. So to fume, you'll normally take the glass, put it under a fume hood and add chemicals, or for example super glue works as a fume. And you will basically put it under the fume hood and the glue will stick to it and the fingerprint will come out. If you want to dust, you're going to need materials such as some sort of magnetic lifter and some magnetic powder, and what you're going to do is dust the glass surface with it, and then use a piece of tape and a plain piece of white paper and put whatever prints you find on the glass onto the tape and put that on a plain piece of paper. Latin prints are prints left over and not apparent to the naked eye. They are formed from water, sweat, salt, and amino acids. They are left on most any surface, but most commonly smooth, non-porous surfaces. You can also find and lift prints on almost any surface though. For example, paper or cardboard, you can use iodine or silver nitrate. For metal, fluorescent dyes or small particle reagents. And for unfinished wood, for example, you can use nitty hydrogen or certain types of powders. In our case, we will be demonstrating on a glass surface. One of the most common methods for discovering and collecting Latin fingerprints is dusting a surface with fingerprint powder, such as black granular, aluminum flake, or black magnetic. If any prints appear, they are photographed and lifted from the surface with clear adhesive tape. The lifting tape is then placed on a Latin lift card to preserve the print. To roll a fingerprint, you're going to need some sort of ink pad as well as a clean pen card, and you're going to have to fill out all of the information before you take the fingerprint of the suspect. But what you're going to do is you're going to take all 10 fingers of the suspects, because you're not sure which finger you're going to find at the scene of the crime. You can't tell, especially at crime scenes. You normally only find parts of a fingerprint, not a whole one rolled. So you're going to take the fingerprints of each victim, and for the thumb, you're going to roll their finger away from their body. But for every other finger, such as the index and ring, you're going to roll into the body. Once you're done filling out your 10 card as accurately as possible, you're able to begin fingerprinting your suspect. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your ink pad and you're going to take the suspect's right hand first, starting with their right thumb. And what you're going to do is you're going to roll the thumb into the body and get as much ink on the finger as possible, because you want to get a full fingerprint. And then you're going to mimic the same action that you just did onto your 10 card. And you roll both thumbs into the body, but every other finger you roll out. This is what your finished product should look like. Everything filled out accurately on the top, and then have all 10 prints under. Now these would be considered good prints because you got the whole finger rolled on to the 10 card, and when the entire finger is rolled, the print is in the shape of a rectangle.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the types of fingerprints. There's 3 main ones: the arch, the loop, and the whorl, but we'll go more into detail in a second. So first of all, there's the plain arch, which is where the ridges enter on one side of the impression and flow or tend to flow out the other side, with rise wave in the center, right here. There's a tented arch, which is just a higher arcing arch. There's the loops, which is either radial or ulnar. It's basically just a loop, as you can see. Then there's 2 different whorls. There's the plain whorl and the central pocket whorl. The central pocket whorl usually has a one complete circular ridge, as you can see, and the plain whorl has 2 deltas usually, and at least 1 ridge, making a complete circuit. And finally, there's the accidental and double loop. Double loop is obviously just 2 clear intertwined loops, and the accidental is just prints that have combined features of both loops and arches. They can be both.
Go.
Alright, now we're going to move on to a more specific part of the fingerprint, which is minutiae. And I have 6 examples right here. We got the ridge. Alright, these are examples of minutiae. There's the ridge ending, bridge, trifurcation, dot, island, and those are just examples. And then this shows how they're involved in a fingerprint. So here is a ridge ending, an island, bifurcation, and an enclosure.
So there's 2 types of evidence. There's class and individual. Class is when it narrows it down to a group of people. An individual is when it narrows it down to a person. Class evidence is between arches, whorls, and loops. And individual are like little unique distortions in the fingerprints, such as the minutiae, like bifurcation, ridges, and all those ridges.
Go.
Fingerprints are very useful in a crime scene investigation because if you have enough minutia matches and the same fingerprint type, then you can match the found fingerprint to a suspect's fingerprint and like persecute them. But if the fingerprints have less than 8 matching minutia, it's usually not good enough evidence to be used in a court of law. I'm going to compare fingerprints by analyzing the minutia. In a crime scene investigation, the investigators will look at fingerprints like these two, like crime scene fingerprint and the suspect's fingerprint rolled on a 10 card, and when you compare them, they have very different minutia found throughout the whole thing, and also they have a different fingerprint type. This one's a tinted arch over here, and this one appears to be a whorl. So as you could see in this comparison of 2 fingerprints, there are plenty of similar minutia details on them. Like we have this delta over here that matches on this fingerprint, and we also have like an eye up here, for example. And there's many other matching minutiae, as you can see with this green line. In a crime scene, these 2 plain whorls would be a match because they have so many similarities with them. But if these fingerprints were compared, so an arch, a loop, and maybe even a whorl, they will not be a match because they have different shapes, so it wouldn't make sense for them to be a match.
Did you know that arches only occur 5% of the time? They're the least occurring fingerprint.
Same color t-shirt, white. Mama told me not to sell.